Shut up and sit down.
What is going on, dads, and welcome to episode 10 of the Dads After Dark Show, recorded on Tuesday, May 12th, 2020. We're your hosts, Drew and John, and thank you for joining us tonight for some Nintendo and the big Twitter scam and monthly mayhem while listening to my jam, eating some ham, bam, a piece of bam. You know, John, I don't know. You know, I think this stuck in the house thing's getting to me.
You think?
What's going on? What's new with you?
Oh boy, yeah. No, the stay-at-home thing is getting old, but gotta stick to it. You know, we got the new Dads After Dark image. I think it was a couple weeks ago, right after our last show. What did you think about it, Little Mac?
I mean, I think I looked like a stud. I think you looked like a troubled soul lost on another planet.
Oh, I was hot, man. I am pretty hot.
I'll tell you what, that chest hair was calling my name. It was like you were trying to wrap you do the little twirl with your finger with your chest hair. And
I love the hair. It's like equally disturbing, but you know, at the same time, like it captured my actual hair, whereas, you know, you got to have the hair with Bayonetta, so you couldn't go without it.
I mean, it's exactly what I imagined. It's you as a female Bayonetta character.
Yeah, I think it looks great. I loved it.
I did. So what else? What else is going on?
Well, I mean, this week, we have to talk about it, Drew. Right.
Before we even get there, like, because I'm going to get all riled up. I did a thing today, John. I went and I bought myself a new car.
You did?
I did. You know, I pulled the old, the whole scam. I went there yesterday. I test drove it. I told the guy what I wanted. He kept trying to go back and forth. I said, listen, this is my magic number. You get there and I'll buy the car. Sorry. So I left, walked out the door.
Wow.
What happened? That sucker called me back 9:30 this morning. Andy, I think I can get you your magic number. I said, I'll be there today.
Wow. But you knew he was going to call. You were just waiting on it.
Oh, yeah. But deep down, I was like, I want to call back so bad. What if they sell the car? I don't get it.
Wait, so what did you get? Was it a new car or a used car?
Brand new. I got a new Honda Pilot. So it's their bigger
nice.
SUV. Yeah, love it. Awesome.
Yeah. It kind of like... They're like big and square, but they're like, I like those.
Well, they used to be square. They remodeled it like 3 years ago. So they look more like just the typical bigger SUV, but they're great. I love it. I mean, my car was 8 years old. I had the CRV. Just time for a new one.
I got to say, I do love Honda.
Me too.
Yeah. The cars last forever. Lots of good models. I have a Civic myself.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, oh, cool.
So I did that today. But yeah, John, if you really want to talk about the elephant in the room, let's talk about it. It was a scam. And I think what we're talking about is our big monthly mayhem contest. So for anybody that is living under a rock, we have been doing a pretty cool, unique monthly mayhem this time around, where we had to include Animal Crossing, right? I mean, everybody's playing it. There's nothing else, so we had to do it. So we did it. And we said, for the first 30 days of Animal Crossing, go out, play it, enjoy it, have fun. But that's when it gets go time. And by the end of April, you need to submit at least, what did we just make it? One photo, right? That's what we kind of changed the rules.
Yeah, and we kind of changed it as we went, just as what felt right. You know, because until you actually play the game, you don't know.
Correct. So submit one picture of an interior or exterior shot that represents something that you did or you're proud of, whether it's a room or exterior or whatever it might be. So we had a pretty good showing. How many people, John, did we have?
We had, oh my gosh, it was an odd number. I think it was 11.
I think you're right. It was 11 people. Yeah. And so here's what happened, right? Me and you had to do like a playing game like that. Who's going to be the 16 seed in like the NCAA bracket, right? Because we had that odd number.
It was the only thing that really was fair to have anybody else have to play a play.
Oh, yeah. 100% agree.
So we took one for the team.
We did. So you had an interesting theme. So what was your theme? Tell me a little inspiration behind it.
Yeah, so I mean, I run a couple gaming groups. I don't run it anymore per se. I'm a mod, but the Denver Retro Gamers, And every few months we get together. Although not anymore. Every few months we get together and we sell like old retro stuff and new retro stuff and whatever. And we have basically they're swap meets. And one of the things I wanted to build in Animal Crossing was I wanted to build a little meet. So I had gotten some folding tables, and that's when I got the idea. And that's what our swap meets look like. People bring folding tables and then just throw boxes and boxes of stuff where we're selling. And yeah, so I bought 9 of them. I made a little area on my island, and then I was throwing like as much video game stuff as I could find. I had a Switch on there, some cardboard boxes, some toys, games, board games, that sort of thing. And yeah, I made a little DRG area, and then I sort of retrofit it to be a generic flea market for my entry. So yeah, I thought it was unique. I haven't seen anybody else do it, and it definitely is something that means a lot to me. I've been doing that with our group for like 5-6 years now, and I was pretty proud of it.
That's pretty cool. Now, does it still stand today, or did you demolish it?
Oh no, it's still there. It's been there. I did revert it back to a DRG swap, so it's the branded version.
Yeah.
And when I do find more stuff, like I have cardboard boxes on the table just as fill-in until I find some cool things. But as I find like other stuff, I kind of swap it in there. So I really like it. And what did you do?
Well, so it's funny, right? Because when you play this game, you're just focused on whatever your vision is of your town, right? And my island, I was focusing on getting to the end. I wanted to do a lot of terraforming ideas, and then I was building a city. I was doing all this stuff. And then it was like 2 days before the end of April. I'm like, holy shit, what am I doing? I'm a dad after dark. I have to submit one. And I was like, everything that I was building, I built roads, I built cityscapes, I built all this stuff. And I was like, none of this can be quantified into a single image. What am I supposed to do? So originally I was like, well, let me do the Botson thing. I started collecting Botson stuff, and me and you go back to our new dad logo was, we knew who our characters were a month ago. So I said, this will be perfect timing because let me do this whole little map theme, and then it will come out with our image. It will fit. It will be cool. And I never got enough Botson stuff to really go create that theme. Right.
Did you have the ring?
I think 1 or 2 corners of the ring.
Yeah.
I had the flooring. I think you've seen my Mike Tyson wall. And I had a few accessories. So it was okay, but I was like, that's not great. Yeah. So then, I was like, scrambling. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So then 2 days before, I started going through my storage. And I'm like, what do I have that I can put together quickly? And I realized I had garbage wallpaper and garbage floor. So I was like, oh yeah, garbage. Sure. That sounds fun. And then I knew you could do like garbage bags and tires and cans and all that other stuff. So I said, great. That's stuff that nobody wants. And then I started trying to get it all to craft, and it was impossible. Because let's be honest, when you get trash, you usually just get rid of it. And now that I need it, so nobody had it laying around that I could, get it from. There was, my fault here, but there was 1 or 2 guys out there. I don't remember. It might have been Frosticles and somebody else that did give me a couple. Might have been Sean gave me a little bit as well. So thank you. But it wasn't enough to do what I wanted to do. So anyways, I made a couple trash bags. I made some tin trash cans. I got my little, beach chair, and I plopped it in there. And I said, it doesn't look great. So what can I do to the next level? So then I said, well, I have a ton of fun making pixel art. So I made 3 pixel arts. I made Forky from Toy Story, and I put him above the trash bag because he loves trash. And then I said, well, I'm in a junkyard, so I have to make Wally and Eva. So I made Wally and Eva, and I put their little green plant that they find and put it right between the two. And I was like, it's kind of cool if people get it. So it was thrown together last minute, but I was happy with it, Yeah.
No, it looked great. It looked fantastic. Where did you get the wallpaper and the floor from?
I don't remember. I must have just found it from. I had the recipes, so or whatever you call them. So I must have got them from
like a junkyard. A junkyard.
I think they're called trash or garbage.
Oh,
I have to look at one of the two. It's just called trash floor or garbage floor.
Well, I mean, interestingly enough, it turned out that trash and garbage is what your room was, because we did the play-in game, and the flea market wins. So here's what happened now. And I want to tell this part of the story because I know you're going to lie and cheat your way through.
I will.
We've been doing the polls on Twitter and in Discord. And the big reason for that is, like, you know, we let the Discord people vote. This is that we have a really good Animal Crossing community in there, and the ladies from the Dad Crossing podcast, they run that really well.
Yeah,
but
cute.
basically,
They're cute, you know, just little guys.
Yeah. So what happened is I decided I also wanted to put the poll on Twitter because I think we want to share our creations with.
Hold on. Before we get into that, I believe it was actually my idea. So, you're going to put them on Twitter too, right? You're like, oh, yeah, let's do that. That's a good idea.
You had a Twitter idea? Didn't we just go through this in the last episode? I don't think so. So it's my idea to have a poll on Twitter.
I'm going to find the... I'm going to find that message when I said, hey, you didn't put it on Twitter?
Well, either way, we put it on Twitter because we wanted to share our creations with the world. And I mean, you know, secretly, I'm recruiting for our Twitter timeline. So there's 2 polls. And the funny part about it turned out to happen with a lot of the matchups. The voting on the Twitter poll was almost reverse what it was on the Discord. And I have a couple of theories for this.
You do?
I do. One is I think some people vote on both, and they vote for one on the Twitter poll and then one on the Discord, because there's been some really cool designs, and, you know, we're all friends, and, you know, you want to support everybody. So, I mean, I've definitely done it once or twice because, you know, when there's like a good competition, I vote for one on Twitter, one on Discord. The other thing is there's just going to be a natural bias in the Discord. You know how like internet communities get, where you get this little hive mind. We have a certain way of thinking, and people on Twitter aren't part of that, and they see things in a different way. But we've definitely like counting up the voting has been interesting because you're on one and it's like, 8 votes to 3, and then the other one's like 7 votes to 4, and you're like, whoa, this is actually closer. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I beat you out, I think, because maybe I advertised the Twitter poll a little bit more. I didn't get like a ton of votes. I'll tell you what, Dan Caparello definitely went hardcore getting people to vote for him.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. His wife just followed us. So yeah, he's retweeting. His wife retweeted the poll, and that's what we want. We want people to try to like get their friends, you know, and then hopefully follow us on the Twitter. So
yeah, that's the whole point of us doing it, right? I mean, I think that's with any social media aspect. You want to grow and you want to help that, and that's what you do. Yeah. So good. Glad to see it.
Yeah. So I think our matchup was interesting. But like I said, we did the play-in game. We don't even get any points for it. And I think both of us, like, you did yours last minute, and I can't say I put forth my best effort. But I went with the flea market. It was like the last like few days, and I was like, what am I going to go with? Yeah, and I went with the flea market just because I thought it was the most original. I had an arcade that I was building, but it wasn't quite done. I have an exercise room. It wasn't quite done. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go with the flea market. And, you know, I figured we'll do the play-in game. I don't think I'm going to win the tournament. I don't think you thought you'd win the tournament. No. I liked your room a lot. I thought you would smoke me.
Really?
Honestly. Yeah, I just thought yours was an interesting idea. I hadn't seen it before. Your wallpaper and your floor were great. Mm-hmm. When I did the picture of mine, the flea market was like, I had like the fencing around all the tables, and it was all grass. And then after I submitted the picture, I was like, you know what? A flea market's in dirt. So I moved all the tables around, and I was terraforming dirt into the flea market. And then I moved them all back. So that whole square is all dirt now. And then I was going to take another picture, and I was like, you know what? The grass looks better. It just looks more cheery. And so I left it. So, yeah. But
interesting. We
had a good matchup. It was a 1-vote win. And
well, it was then. Since people have continued voting, let's just make that clear.
Yeah, no, we got to.
I get the rules.
You can't cut off a poll in Discord. It just keeps going and going. On Twitter, the vote cut. I had the votes cut out at midnight. But yeah, Discord went on. I guess the next day, after I posted
Yeah,
the
one or two
next
people.
poll, people went back and voted, and it was pretty funny that you actually did pass me by. I can't remember what the final vote was.
Well, all I know
that
is I'm
next
looking
morning.
at the Discord, and in Discord alone, I had 73% of the votes, John, and
Yeah.
yet I lost. It's the Twitter scam. As I mentioned above in the intro, it is the Twitter scam.
Well, if you want to win next time, you should run the poll.
No, I'd rather be ended now than get my hopes up.
Well, if it makes you feel better, tomorrow I have my official first round matchup. I expect to get slaughtered.
Who you playing?
And I got no points for beating you. So, yeah,
Sure.
we're going to see. I forget who the last person is. I don't want to give it away. I want to let it go tomorrow, but I'll look it up after the show and let you know. I don't think my flea market really holds muster, especially as we like weed out. I expect to get slaughtered. Even if I win, I don't expect it. But I'm gonna push hard on the Twitter, and I'm gonna be asking for votes from friends and family. So I'm gonna put up a fight, whoever I'm going against.
I like it. I like that. I respect the turn up hustle.
So come to the Monthly Mayhem channel. We have a poll in there, and then we have a link to the Twitter. Vote in both.
And remember, the winner gets some eShop credit, $15, and the run-up will second place will get 10.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do the lotto. We're gonna do the lotto.
Yeah, the lottery.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. No, and this is fun. I mean, we gave a full 40 days to Animal Crossing because we knew people wanted to play Animal Crossing, and now we're doing the poll. We're going to take a little bit of a break after it, and we have a great game lined up next. I'm really excited for it. So it's going to be fun. And it's always good when you pick a game that everyone's playing anyway. Everyone gets involved. So you don't want to pick, if we would have picked some random eShop game while Animal Crossing's going on. Like before Animal Crossing, we were thinking, is it possible? But looking back at it now, nobody was going to play anything but Animal Crossing. So we did it right.
Absolutely. Agreed.
What else is going on? What have you still playing Animal Crossing? What have you been up to?
I am, John. I think it's dwindling. I got like 110 hours into this game, which is for me, a lot. And the turnip hustle is strong. Don't laugh, but I think I can't even say this out loud. I think I bought 8,000 turnips.
Well, how much money? Because I can never. I can't.
I think over probably $1 million.
Okay.
Bells, about 1 million bells. I think that was maybe a little less than that. I got them for 93 bells. I had a good price this.
Oh, that is a good price.
It's funny because everyone gets all worked up over 100 bells, 103. Oh yeah, can I come to your place? Even if it goes from I did the math the other day. If it goes from a 90 bell to a 110 bell swing. Right, so 20 bell swing. Even if you're buying like 500,000 bells worth, it's really not that much of a difference when you sell. If you're selling for 500 or 600 bells, you're really only making a difference of like 100,000 bells. Which I get it sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not if you're making 2 million.
That's like one thing in the shop sometimes.
So it's not worth my aggravation to go to somebody's town and come back and go back and forth to empty my inventory to save. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But
no, I mean, you're exactly right. Because the difference of 20 bells, because I think I bought for like 110 and you're buying for 93, and that's almost like a 25% difference. But the thing is, if you go to somebody's town and you go buy some turnips and then you leave and then you come back, it's going to take you an hour. So you're not going to buy that many in turnips. 20
bells, 5,000 turnips.
Yeah.
That's 100K.
Yeah.
So right there's your simple math. Is it worth it? Not worth it for me. 100% agreed. But anyways, I've been terraforming the shit out of my town, island, whatever the hell you want to call it, and I'm just about done. I got like 4 sections. I got maybe 5. I got my house, top left, bottom left. I have an entire like spooky forest with a path through it. On the right hand side, I got my entire town with paths and fences and lampposts and bridges and places to fish. And then above that, I have my city where I made roads, and I have my museum and my store. And then I have a flower patch above that. So I have tons of paths and signage, and I'm really happy with it. You have to come over and visit it one time. But
I haven't been there yet.
Yeah, come visit. It's pretty much close to being done. And now it'll just be improvements as I find new stuff in the shops and stuff. So I think I'm dwindling. I'll probably continue to log in at least for the turnips and stuff, and help out other Discord players and communities to sell and whatnot. But I had a blast. I loved everything about it. But at the same time, I'll probably play for another week or two because there's not much else on my radar right now. But how about you? What you've been busy?
Yeah, I have been playing. My wife got mad at me. It was like a week ago or so. My wife is hardcore in Animal Crossing. She's over 200 hours, and she just plays. Oh, I think she's getting close to 300. She just plays. I mean, we have nothing else to do. We'll. There have been times like one day after lunch, we both went upstairs just to play a little bit. I was working, play a little video games. Go upstairs. She played from lunch to dinner. It was just incredible. And then there's been times where after dinner we go upstairs and she plays until we put the kids to bed. So we're talking 3 hours. Mm-hmm. I cannot play Animal Crossing that long. And there's times you get kind of stuck on doing something, but she's trying to complete the catalog. I'm
not into that really as much.
Oh, because it's massive. And so whenever she sees me playing, she's looking over my shoulder and she's like, "Ooh, you have that gnome? I want that. Ooh, I want that." And it's not like she's saying she wants she needs to have these things. It's just, she just wants everything. And so she was low in money because she wasn't doing the turnip puzzle, Drew.
That's a miss.
She didn't understand. So she would pay her loan as much as she could and she would buy things. And I told her just, Friday, Saturday, just hoard your money, then buy the turnips and then sell them. And then you can spend some of that money and then save up money for the next turnip hustle. And last week was the first time she did the turnip hustle and she just made millions. And now it's yes, she's she understands Sunday is about buying million bell turnips. Mm-hmm. But she finally did that. But before that, she was low on money and she knew that I had about 5 million bells in the bank at the time. And she's like, "Can I borrow some money?" In fact, no, this is when we were recording. Remember last episode, I said I had given her my Switch so she can go to my town and get money.
Okay.
And so so here's what happens. So she goes on, she grabs 200,000 bells or whatever.
Okay.
And then 2 days later, she goes, "Can I borrow more money?" And I'm like, whoa. You haven't paid me back. You got to pay me back, And she's like, "Well, I don't have any bells." And it's and now you want to borrow more bells? And I kept telling her, I said, "You should do the turnips, and whatever." She got mad at me because I would not let her borrow. She's like, "You have so much money in the bank." And I go, "Yeah, I'm saving it for..."
I did the turnip hustle.
Yeah, I'm saving it for bridges and moving buildings and I don't play the game as much. So I do want that hoard of money because she's going around selling fruit and all that stuff. And she was legit mad at me. She wouldn't talk to me for an hour.
Did you sleep on the couch?
Yeah, no, but the next day, but yeah, she was just she was in a bad mood. And the next day we went to a friend's town. We have the 4 of us that play Overcooked. We have a chat and we went to the town and we're all sitting there and Dylan has a bunch of money. He had 7 million bells 3 weeks ago. So, and he drops a bag of money. We're all sitting there and he drops a bag of money on the floor. And just for fun, I grab it and I run. I just run off the screen. And I thought it was hilarious. I was like, I'm going to take it and run. And I hid behind a house, I wanted to see if he'd come try to find me. And he said, "That's yours," or something. He was paying back my wife's loan to me. And I didn't know what to think about this, Drew. If some guy, if your wife borrows money from you and then some guy pays you, is that a flex? That feels like a flex to me.
Yeah, I think that's part of the hustle.
I honestly, it bugged me a little bit because I wanted her to pay me back. I don't want to, here's this guy. He's going to pay you back. And then he gave her 1 million bells.
So he pretty much said, "You're not satisfying your woman. I'm going to do it for you."
He's going after my woman.
He's going after your virtual woman. You better watch out behind the house or behind.
No, he's going after my real woman.
Oh, I mean,
virtually.
Yeah, virtually.
But, she is my real wife. So I thought that was hilarious.
Maybe it's the character. Maybe it's the and I don't want to linger. We're not dads crossing, but my daughter did discover. I mean, she always knew Animal Crossing. She loved it. She always loved me playing, and she kind of gets the concept of it. But I was like playing. I'm like, I don't want to play anymore, and like I had to do stuff. So I was like, here, Zoe, why don't you play? And she's like, really? I'm just like, yeah. And she's played Switch before, and
Right.
she was like, I was like, yeah, just run around, just go explore my town. And that was a mistake for two reasons. First reason, she was like into it. She played for an hour and a half, John. And
Wow.
the second mistake was I had no fruit left on my trees.
Well, did she sell it or did she eat it all?
She ate them all, and like even after she had 10, she just kept eating it. But don't get me wrong, it could have been 1,000 times worse. I mean, the fruit grows back. Who cares? She didn't do anything long-term damage, but it was kind of cute. It was kind of like like a happiness in a weird dad way. Like, look at her, like she's playing by herself and she's trying to understand it. And I gave her a net and she went around, and I checked my inventory later and I had 12 bugs and butterflies in my. I was like, oh, good for her,
Yeah.
So it was like cool to kind of, I mean, yeah, she's only 5, so it was cool to go off and kind of like see her on her own actually playing. Because every time we've ever played video games, we've been playing together. So to see that was really cool. But
That is cool. Animal Crossing is a great game for that.
and like you said, you can't. I mean, what is she gonna mess up? And at this point, like, who cares if she messed something up? Like I'm not gonna get mad,
And you know what's funny about Animal Crossing is this is a game that anybody can play, right? That's what makes a lot of Nintendo games great.
Yeah.
But like Animal Crossing, anybody can play. But Animal Crossing, like you never see a woman not want to play Animal Crossing. It is the ultimate game to draw a female audience in.
Yeah.
And in the early days of GameCube, that was a specific thing. They're trying to get more female gamers. Nowadays, women play games all the time, but
Oh yeah.
man, anybody who sees it, like you can get your mom. I see grandmas that play Animal Crossing, like spouses that never usually play. It's great for that thing. So having a 5-year-old link up. I mean,
Yeah.
of all my kids, the only one that plays is my daughter, and she doesn't play that much anymore. But it's got a great pull.
Good.
Yeah, I've played a lot of games this last 2 weeks, Drew. Well, let me tell you which games I've gone through. I played through The Longest 5 Minutes. I played through Gunman Clive. I got back to Slay the Spire. I have a few things to say about that. Played through Gato Roboto. I played through the Witcher 3 Hearts of Stone DLC, and
Wow.
now I'm
the
playing...
Hearts of Stone. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the Hearts of Stone.
Yeah, gotcha.
And now I'm playing through Blasphemous. So
So
and
let me. I need I think we've talked. Did we talk about Lana's? I think me and you talked about Lana's 5 minutes. Anyways, I need at least a 30-second overview. I know that's a few minutes, but of what each of these games are. And then if you have more to talk about each one, is fine. But I need to understand what each one of these games are.
Let me give you the quick review. I can do really quick. Longest 5 Minutes is the shittiest game I've played all year. I really like what they tried to do. You start the game off, you're going against the final boss, and you've lost your memory. And so the game is like playing like an old style
Like a
RPG.
movie.
Yeah, like playing Final
the end
Fantasy.
first.
But they spoon feed you, like you play through memories. So you're not like this continuous character going from place to place. It's just memory. And every time they start a memory, your money's reset. I think your items are reset. Like everything's kind of reset. And so you don't have this feeling of continuity. And it just got boring. I mean, each memory had like 3 achievements to try to accomplish. It was just terrible. Like I like playing RPGs where you grind and you get a progression. And this one was just like this fragmented experience. I really didn't like it. I had it in my collection for like a year and a half, and I'm glad I played it so that I know I don't like it. But that was the worst game I've played all year. Gunman Clive was a game that was on sale for like $1.25 or something on eShop, and I've heard really good things about it. It's the Gunman Clive collection. There's a first version and then a sequel. And I had read like it was like an hour and a half to play through. And yeah, I beat the game in 39 minutes. It's not a long game. I think it was made for the 3DS. It definitely feels like playing it in 3D would be really cool. Gotta say, I loved it. It was, I mean, as an older gamer, I mean, I appreciate a small experience, and I think if the game went any longer, it would have maybe gotten a little boring. But it's just a little platformer. You got a gun. I mean, it's literally you have a gun and you can jump, and that's it. You play through the levels. There's some variety. There's like a level where you're riding a rocket. It has enough variety. It's not too hard. There was a couple levels that were a little frustrating. And then when I finished, it said you've unlocked duck mode. I was like, "What's that?"
Oh boy!
And one of the enemies in the game is a duck, and it just walks around. It doesn't shoot or anything. But then you can play as the duck, and so they start you on the first level, and I'm like, "Oh, this is funny." Let me play through the level just to see what it is. Yeah. And then I played through the game and beat it with the duck. You can't shoot. You have no attack whatsoever. You just have to. You can jump, and you can kind of flap your wings a little bit. And I beat the game again with the duck, and I was like, "Oh, that was fun." And then I was like, "Oh, who's this Indian guy?" So there's like an Indian, and he doesn't have a gun. He has like a spear, and so I played through it with the Indian. This is all in like one day.
Well, you said it was only 30 to 45 minutes. Right?
Oh yeah. Oh, the second. And when I played with the duck, I got through it in like 23 minutes. Like I got faster and faster.
Yeah.
I had a great time. And the only character I didn't do it with is there was a female character, but she also had a gun, and I was like, okay, it's the same kind of experience. Definitely recommend it if you see that game for like $1 or $2 in the eShop. And then I still have the second game to play through, so definitely gonna play that at some point. That was really good bang for the buck.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Slay the Spire, that's a game I've played through before. It's one of those roguelike games.
Yeah.
And the people on NVC for like 3 weeks were gaga over it. They were all crack addicted to it. And Casey DeFreitas, who's the host, she like got through on the most difficult level and beat the game. The other guys were like, "You did? Like you beat it? Like, oh my God." And I was so excited to play it, and I loved it. And I came back to it. There's so much replay value in that game. It's insane. And they just added a fourth character. There's 3 characters you can choose. Now there's 4. They're all very unique, and they all have their own cards. It's a card-based battling game. It's so much fun. And the way the game works is you get, based on your character, you have certain types of cards. So like there's a character that gets poison cards, for example. But when you start the game, you get a starter set of very basic cards, and you go through and you battle through 3 different like trees of enemies, and every time you win a battle, you get to pick a new card. You usually get a choice of 3 cards, and you can kind of build your deck in your run. So every time you play, you might go in different directions with your deck. You might have a more aggressive deck or a more defensive deck or all sorts of different things. And so it's cool because if it was all about like, if it was like a Magic the Gathering thing where you had to like go through and scientifically build your optimal deck, I would be turned off. But this is like you build as you go. So nobody has a huge advantage. And it's so much fun. I just played it for, oh my God, like all day one weekend. Nice. And I'm going to come back. It's not a game I can play for like 3, 4, 5 weeks straight. It's kind of like Into the Breach, where I'll go through it and I'll play through it for several days and then take a break from it and then come back. So that is, if you can find that game, to anybody, Slay the Spire. I'm going to say it, Drew. It's, I think, one of my top 5 favorite games of all time, which is...
Wow.
Yes.
And how much is it?
You can buy it physical for like $20 at Best Buy.
I'm becoming a digital guy.
Yeah, it might be cheaper digital. I mean, I would definitely throw it on your wish list and see. I mean, some people don't like card-based games. I'm not like a card-based person, really, either.
I'm not for or against. Like, if it's a game that I think, entertains me as far as graphically and story-wise and concept-wise, then I'll give it a go. So it depends. Yeah,
I definitely give it. I mean, it's so good. Oh my God. I played through God Roboto. I would just real quick say, great game. It's another small 3-hour experience. I don't know if it has replayability. I'll play through it again and try to 100% it. But other than that, there's no new characters or anything like that. But totally fantastic game. Had a great time. I did want to talk about Hearts of Stone. So this is The Witcher 3. There's 2 DLCs for The Witcher 3. Hearts of Stone was the first one, and they said it was like a 10 to 15 hour experience. And so what I did was, what's cool about it is you can create a new Witcher 3 game and just play the DLC. And I was really curious about that because I played through The Witcher 3 on my PS4, and I really wasn't interested in playing on my PS4 for the DLC.
Yep.
So the way it works is you start a new game on the Switch and anywhere, and you say, I want to play Hearts of Stone.
Okay.
And what it does is it creates your save file. It marks all of the main... It basically gives you a game as if you played through the main quest and nothing else.
So it's irrelevant if you played more than that or none of that?
No, because you're creating a new save file.
Okay.
So, for example, you played Witcher. It pretends like you beat the Griffin and then you found, Ciri and like all that jazz. The main
story. Yep.
Just the main quests.
So let me ask you this without, will it spoil the main storyline?
Absolutely not. Okay. I was curious about that, even though it wouldn't have spoiled it for me, but it doesn't at all. I mean, and so, it just clears those quests for you, and you're basically leveled up to like what you would have been. Because I think when I finished The Witcher, I was in the level early 30s, and when I started the Hearts of Stone, they put me at level 32. Okay. I was actually a little bit more powerful because they gave you some other things that maybe I think I missed in the game. Some of my potions were a little stronger.
Yep.
And then they start you on this new main quest, and it was an interesting one. You meet a guy, he's kind of mysterious, and there's a really good story to it, but in the end you have to grant these 3 wishes. Somebody makes these wishes and you need to do it for him, and that's it.
And how long was that?
It was about 10-12 hours or so.
Not bad. Perfect.
The other thing that's really cool about it is they only clear your main quest of the game. So you have access to the whole rest of the land, and you can do as many side quests as you want. So you could go back and do those side quests to level yourself up. I didn't. I stuck to the main quest because this isn't like my big save file. Yep. And it was really good. I definitely did. I kind of said play it on Switch because it looks almost as good as the PS4. But as I was playing through this DLC, and I don't know if it was just the DLC, but I was really missing playing on my PS4. The cutscenes are not as smooth. Frame rate's a little lower in the game. I was kind of missing it. The other thing that I noticed on the Switch is like when you press the plus button to go to your menu, it almost feels like an input lag. Like you press plus and you're sitting there and then the menu comes up. So now I feel like, okay, this is the last time I'm playing Witcher on my Switch. I'm retiring it. The next DLC, which I think is like 20 to 25 hours, is I'm definitely going to play on the PS4. But yeah, no, I had a great time. It has a great ending, and then at the end, this is really cool. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's an old DLC, right? The guy, you get a wish to make, and he goes, "What? Now that you've helped me, I'll grant any wish of yours." And they present like 4 or 5 things on the screen, and you're like, "Oh." Like one of them is you wish to be faster and all that. I wish to be rich, and I got a bunch. Yeah, I got a bunch of gold. So I was like, it's cool. So I'm curious what the other things did, but I totally recommend it. If you ever end up playing through Witcher, you should definitely go through it. So that was a really good time. And now I'm playing Blasphemous, which is a Metroidvania. Really like it. It's really hard. It's very much like Dark Souls, but it's 2D. It's just perfectly done. Arlo recommended it on his last YouTube, so I just immediately bought it. And really having a great time with Blasphemous. I highly recommend it.
Nice. So it sounds like you've been busy.
Yeah,
but I guess all medium to smaller type stuff, which is good. You're getting all that stuff out of your way, out of the system, clearing your backlog in time for a very busy end of the month.
Yes, May 29th, the big games come out, and I'm trying to
And not to jump ahead, and I'm sure next episode we'll talk a lot more about this, but are you planning on playing Xenoblade? Right? Correct?
At this point, I'm going to play Xenoblade day 1. There was a time when I was thinking XCOM day 1. But those are the two games I'm interested in. I'm not going to be playing BioShock or Borderlands. But yeah, I think I'm going to just start Xenoblade day one, and I'll get to XCOM down the road.
Yeah, I'm torn. I gotta look into BioShock and stuff. I know they're great games, and I've played Xenoblade. That's my troubling, right? I only really have time for one, so
Right.
and I love Xenoblade, so it hurts. I like Chronicles X was amazing. So I don't know. I'm torn on what I'm gonna do still.
You said you played through the first one.
I did. If it's the one I remember, I'm pretty sure I did. It was
The one on the Wii.
On the Wii, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because well, there was 2 and there was X. What was that? Right?
X was on the Wii U, and then they made the original one on the Wii. They did for 3DS. It's not a remaster. It's
Correct.
Just they ported it over.
Unless I played X, I think I played both. One of them I beat, and I think one of them I only played halfway. So I don't remember which. I'd have to look into the storylines a little bit more and see which one was which.
Oh, you can't miss the story for Xenoblade. It's Shulk.
Oh.
The amiibo that
yeah,
nobody knows who he is. Yeah, and he gets the Monado, and yeah. It looks, the remaster looks so friggin' good. Oh my God.
I love those games. I don't know.
It just looks so good.
We'll see. Yeah. So what else? You've been a busy boy, John. What else have you been doing?
Last episode you told me to watch The Witcher.
I did. Well, now that you beat the game, I mean, you originally didn't want to watch it because you didn't want to spoil it, which I get.
And I totally feel justified by it.
Yeah, I did. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
So what do you think? How far did you make it?
I am 2 episodes in.
Okay, was there 8 if I remember correctly?
I'm not sure actually. But yeah, I'm 2 episodes in, and I'd say I'm hooked. I don't like. Isn't it the guy who played Superman? Is Geralt? I think it's Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill.
I don't know his name, but yeah, the guy that played Superman. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not loving.
They gave him an ultimatum because they wanted him to come back to make another Superman movie, and at the same time they wanted him to record season 2 of The Witcher. No, I'm sorry, season 1 of The Witcher. So they said,
he's the current Superman.
Correct. They said, so the Superman producer said, you need to make the decision. If you're going to do The Witcher, then you're not doing Superman anymore. He said, F you guys then. I want to do The Witcher. I think it has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And
Netflix money, man. Netflix
Superman,
money.
Yeah, Superman said, fine, F you. Few months later, Superman producers came crawling back and said, you know what? We'll wait for you. Why don't you go finish filming this show and then let us know when you're done, and we'll make another Superman movie.
I can't stand. I don't like any of the ever since Christopher Reeve. Like I don't.
Yeah, I'm not. Is that DC Comics or?
Yeah. So they did. There was another person who played Superman before Harry. What was his name? But they had another Superman previous to this guy. Or maybe I'm just thinking, I don't know. The guy who was on the
show with Lopez?
Who's the guy on the show?
Lopez, wasn't it? No, Dean, what's his name?
Yes.
What's his name?
Dean something.
Look it up.
It's a video game show, you guys. It's not a Hollywood show. Yeah, they had that guy played Superman, and yeah, I don't like this guy at all, and I think I don't like his Geralt. It's just not the Geralt from the game, and I know that you can't be, and certainly like you've been staring at Geralt's face for like 900 hours, so it's not going to feel like it. But I don't like him. Dean Cain, that's right. I don't like him.
I don't know. I think he grows up. I think he plays a perfect character for that role. I like him.
Maybe. I mean, he's just kind of grumpy, and the thing that I think when I think of Geralt is he's like the big, beefy, brawny type, but he does seem to have sympathy. Like, he helps old ladies on side quests and all that jazz, and he's got a dry sense of humor, and I'm not feeling that after 2 episodes.
Well, it's funny because he's like this bounty hunter guy, but he's not, he would never scam you like you scammed me in Twitter. He would never cheat you or steal from you for no reason,
Right.
He wants his fair wage for the work he's done, and that's it.
Yes.
Hey, who doesn't?
Exactly. and I'm not feeling it. The thing that really, I think the moment I got hooked into the show, that moment was, and I knew it. I freaking knew it. The girl, I was like, I bet you that's Yennefer. And,
she has a little hunchback type thing going on.
Oh, she's got the hunchback and like something in her mouth and all that
about
jazz.
her though, John.
And I was like, God, this feels like Yennefer. And so I'm really curious to see what happens with that character. So I'm hooked. I mean, we have Ciri, we have Yennefer, and we haven't found Triss yet, but I like it. He might grow on me. I'm not going to cement him as a terrible Geralt yet, but so far I'm not really loving him. So we'll see.
Yennefer has a huge role in the show. Obviously, I think episode 2. In episode 2, it was a lot about her, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I really liked her in the show. I thought well casted, and I don't want to spoil anything, but we'll leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll continue to watch. Yeah. And then I just want to tell a quick Game Boy story. I had two. I feel like I'm just jumping into this, but I love the Game Boy Advance. I love it. It's one of my favorite consoles ever. I love the square.
Well, can I tell you a secret?
Well, I want to hear your secret.
Never owned one.
You haven't owned a GBA?
No.
Wow. I mean, it depends on how old were you when the GBA was out?
What year did it come out?
I think it's about 20 years old.
Well, I mean, I wasn't an infant, if that's what you're asking. I was probably a teenager.
I mean, it's like the DS. When did the DS come out? Like the late 2000s or whatever.
When I was a kid, I had the original Game Boy. So obviously, I'm old enough to play. I have tons of memories with the original Game Boy. That was my most played handheld console ever.
So you just sort of skipped it.
You know what it was? I'd have to look, but it came out in 2001. Yeah, I was a middle teenager kid, probably high school. But my point is that was probably during the time of, when did like GameCube come out?
That's around the same time. The GameCube came out like right near 9/11. That's how I always remember it. I mean, it was like right around the time of 9/11, and it had a bad launch because of it. And you remember the GameCube
came out in 2001, so same year. So that's right, because they interacted with each other. That's right. So that was my thing. And we'll get to a little bit later, but the GameCube was my console. That was probably my console of any Nintendo console ever. So I think that sucked up a lot of my time, where, especially as like a teenager in high school, late night video games and stuff. That's what I was playing. I never really had the need for a GBA.
Interesting. I mean, the GBA had a long lifespan, and then when the original DS came out, they didn't even say that the DS was replacing the GBA. It was kind of a third line. And Nintendo does it all the time, right? They say, "Oh, this isn't replacing it." They did that with the Switch when the Wii U came out. And but the GBA just went away right away. The DS came out, it was a huge hit, and the GBA just kind of died. But the GBA had a long lifespan, and there's the original GBA hardware, which looks more like, like a phone, side with landscape mode or something like that, like one of those kind of things. But the SP, I mean, for years I never owned an original GBA. The SP is this little clamshell square. They made some really cool little versions of it. And then at some point they made a brighter screen version of it. The GBA Micro came out. I mean, and the library for the GBA is just nuts. There's so many good games on it. If you ever go and do some retro buying and get an old console and play through some games the GBA is it. I mean, there is some great versions of Zelda on there. They have a lot of the Super Mario remakes, great RPGs, Fire Emblem, Ogre Tactics. There's so many. The library is great. All the Pokemon games. But I'm a GBA kid. I love the GBA. I always play some GBA games from time to time. And nice. I had once you get the brighter lit version of the GBA, and if you ever get one, you should get the brighter lit version.
Okay.
You can't go back. because the original GBA, when it came out, the LCD technology still wasn't great on consoles. It was it's still expensive. And so you had the screen, and then you had like a little light inside the GBA. When you had your Game Boy, right?
Yeah.
In order to see the screen, you couldn't do that on the Game Boy, right? You probably had an accessory.
Yeah,
like
you couldn't play in the car at nighttime. No, it didn't work.
Right. So you bought some light, and it would hook up to your Game Boy, and it would, the GBA had the light inside the screen, so you didn't need an accessory anymore.
So was that really the first handheld to really introduce that?
No, I mean, like some of the more expensive ones had that. Turbo Express had that. Atari Lynx, they had lit screens, but it made the hardware really expensive. Nintendo always pursued.
Yeah, but for Nintendo, correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So the GBA had the light inside the screen, but not backlit. Like when you're thinking of backlit, where the light is behind it, but the brighter screen is the first screen where it's like an LCD screen today. It's backlit. It's beautiful. Even lighting. Once that version came out, once you play the brighter one, you can't go back. So I had a mint condition Onyx black one, and then I had and we'll talk about this later, the NES GBA.
Oh,
So
I did always love that one.
It is gorgeous.
It is.
And the only problem with that one is they don't have a backlit version of it. They never made one. The backlit didn't come out till later. So I have the I worship it. I have it on my shelf, the NES one. But next to it was my black one, and that's the only one I would play because it was backlit. And I always wanted to swap the screens. And yeah, a few days ago, I asked around, and sure enough, I dissected. I never do hardware mods, but I dissected. I pulled you got to pull the motherboard and the screen out of the brighter one, and I switched them. So I put the dimmer screen in the black one, and I put the bright screen in the NES. I was so nervous. It's actually not that hard if you have tri-wing screwdrivers and whatever, and I had to order that. But in the front, if you look at the front on the screen of a GBA, around the screen are these rubber, whatever you want to call them. They're little stoppers.
Yeah.
And they are kind of stuck in there, and there's really no convenient way to take them out. And I had to use a razor blade to kind of pull them out. And doing it on the black one, I was like fine with, however this turns out, because I knew it was going to be kind of junked after. But doing it on the NES one, and I think I spent $200 for my NES GBA back in the day, because I got it with the box in mint condition. And oh my God, I was so nervous. And I think I did a really good job. And then I was working on it till midnight. It wasn't working. It turned out I had swapped the motherboard. But long story short, I did get the NES GBA with the brighter screen now. So now that is my baby.
So you got it to work.
I got it to work. But to make a fun story sad, this morning I put together, I had the bag with the black one all disconnected, with screws everywhere. It was completely disconnected. I put it back together again. So it was like a black one with the dim screen. And the goal was to put that on eBay and see if I can get my money back for what I paid for it like 5 years ago, because I bought it in mint condition in the box for like $80. And so I had the box, but it was just like one of the rubber stoppers was missing, and it was mismatched hardware, and the box said brighter screen, but it wasn't. So I put it on eBay. I had it on eBay for $100. Buy it now. And eBay's always changing their interface, and they used to have this option where you could say, let people make me an offer, but the offer has to be at least this much money. So I said $50. Like, I don't, you know what it is? You don't want people making you offers for like $5. It just wastes your time. 10 minutes later, my phone rings, it dings, and it says sold for $50. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what?
Yeah.
And it turns out eBay got rid of the minimum bid and replaced it with automatically accept when it hits this bid. So somebody bid $50 and it automatically accepted it.
Even though it was listed for 100.
It was listed for 100. Why on earth would I automatically accept a bid that's less than the buy it now price? That makes no sense.
So did you have to accept it, or did you email the guy and say, hey, listen, this was a mistake, blah, blah, blah?
Well, it was a lady, but you know what? I just said, fuck it. I mean,
So did you explain to this woman that you modified it?
Oh, it's in the description. I mean, it's, you know, it's like, I think I said it. It's a Frankenstein GBA, right? It doesn't have the bright screen. I made it very clear in the title and the description and all that. That's not the problem. And you know what? For $50, you get, I mean, you know, you get a pretty good deal because you get a GBA, which is about what a GBA would cost. Yeah. And then you get the box for the brighter one, and that cardboard is expensive on this retro stuff. Yeah, I mean, I kind of anticipated that it would sell for like 60, 70 or that sort of thing. So I wasn't that far off, but I could have gotten way more for it, especially considering how fast it sold.
Well, John, you learned your lesson.
Ah, fuck. Yeah, that was a bad eBay experience.
Oh, boy. Well, you'll know next time.
We'll know next time. What else we got?
Well, did you know, John, big release today, good old-fashioned Tony Hawk Remastered is coming back.
Yes.
But it's not coming to the Switch.
It's not on Switch?
For now, right? I think it's not there for now. I think there's hopes up. I mean, what some amazing memories of this game. Bobby Burnquist, I mean, unlocking levels, collecting the state letters, all that amazing stuff, trying to get your top scores. Were you a fan?
You know, I was going to say, I did not play it as a kid, but it sounds like you did.
I did. I played a ton of it.
What makes it amazing? I
mean, first off, you felt so cool. It was one of the first N64 games to have a colored cartridge, right? So I had that nice royal blue cartridge. I think what made it so amazing was it was you know, it was probably, you only had, I think, maybe 5 minutes of each level. And there was a couple different missions you could go for, right? I think again, this is by memory. I haven't played this game in over 10 years. You could collect the letters. I believe kind of like there was the word skate, right? So the 5 letters were spread out throughout the level. You could go for that. You could go for just getting a certain amount of score to get like so many stars. There was a couple other achievements too that were really hard, but I think it was just you couldn't unlock your next level until you did so many of these things. And I think that's with any game, right? It's the excitement of what's the next level going to be, getting more characters. It was just such an easy game to control. And I think that it was so much fun because it was like, hey, here's your 3 to 5 minutes. Go do some tricks, do some grinding, just have fun. And it's like, that's it. Game's over. Do you want to play this level again? Do you want to change your people? Do you want to unlock a skateboard? It was just simple. And I think that's what made it so easy for those type of games. Just like a racing game, right? You go race 1 level or 2 levels and you do stuff. You know, and I think that the N64 had a ton of these games. I think in the past episode we talked about like San Francisco Rush and Rush 2 and all those things. And it was the same thing. It was a racing game, but it was so much more than a racing game where there were collectibles throughout them. And I think that was a very popular thing for the N64 era, where you went from Super Nintendo to N64, where they started introducing this, I don't want to say open world, but kind of, right? You're getting away from that 2D platformer, and you're kind of going into an open world where you can now go do collectibles and achievements and things like that. So I think that was a big part of this game, and they just did such a good job at it. So I really hope this comes to the Switch. We'll have to wait and see, though.
Yeah, I think it will. I have a feeling it will. I don't think it'll be on launch day, and I think that's why they didn't announce it. But I mean, if they're not like handing this over to Panic Button or Saber or whoever and just saying, go make us tons of money, that would be ridiculous. I mean, it's got to come to Switch. The Switch is where they'll sell the most copies, I swear.
Can you not see like a commercial for the Switch already with this game? Like, you know, a couple kids at the skate park doing their stated, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, grab their Switch out of their backpack and like start playing. You know what I'm saying? And then like
playing it while sitting on the ramp. I mean,
I mean, it's just it's printing money, as everyone likes to say. That's this game. It's such a great game to buy and play. So I'd be all on board to buy this.
Yep. No, totally. It'll come.
Yep. I mean, if that was a great monthly Mayhem game.
Ooh. That could be. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. What do you say? Let's get to our main topic this week. We've talked about a lot. We've got a very interesting main topic. What do you say we get to that right now?
Let's do it. All right, so for the main topic this week, John, you came across a very interesting question over from the NVC guys, where I didn't listen to the episode. Was it on an episode that they discussed about this?
Oh yeah, it was this week's episode.
There you go. This whole pandemic thing, work from home crap. My podcast listening has diminished, unfortunately, for the time being. I'll have to make my comeback, but for me working at home with the kids, it's hard to listen to multiple podcasts. So anyways, they asked a really cool question where they said, what are your 3 favorite console designs or special editions, or just overall as a general, right? Everyone can pick their favorite console, like we just talked about. I told you about my GameCube fun, and even N64 a little bit with the Tony Hawk. But of those consoles, was there a special edition that you owned that rings a bell or memory, or was there one that you always wanted, but your grandma bought you the standard black edition, and you were like, well, shit, I can't tell grandma I'm not thankful, so I have to just suck it up, and I'm never going to get that cool edition.
I never got a console from grandma. Your grandma's awesome, sounds like to me.
Maybe we'll get to that. Anyways,
I always say I thought this was a great question because we've always had what are your favorite consoles of all time, and it's a super hard decision because you think about the classic Nintendo and the Super Nintendo, but then you think to the modern stuff and you're like, my God, the Switch is my favorite console of all time. And it's like, you hate to throw the NES under the bus, but it's a tough question. So this one is your favorite design. It has nothing to do with library. It has nothing to do with history or what it means to the industry as a whole. Yeah. It's just that individual piece of hardware that you loved. And so many come to mind. Yep.
I before we even get into our answers, I just wanted to give a little shout out to all the people over in our Discord channel. Thank you, because we had a huge response, and unfortunately, I don't think we're going to go through all of them tonight. But thank you for that, and keep if you guys listen to this and you didn't respond, send us some pictures. Let us see what tweet us out, John. Let us know what you guys think of your favorites. But let's get into it. I mean, maybe we'll do a little back and forth. You do one, I do one type thing.
Yeah. I'll start off, and I think it's hard to pick a favorite. But when I think of limited editions and unique designs that I love, I mean, the first console that came to my mind was the 3DS XL. The thing about there are a lot of consoles that come out, Drew, and you know this, and they come out, and there's classics like the NES, there's classics like the SNES. But nowadays, usually a console comes out, and the first iteration is fine, but it's like a later iteration that's like better. The thing about the 3DS is that the first iteration is so hot. That blue 3DS, the first one that came out, and the 3DS has never had a bad design. In fact, I think one of my favorite designs of the 3DS is that first blue one. But the Samus little limited edition, it came out. I remember it came out in 2017 because I remember the Switch was out and Samus Returns got the remake on 3DS.
Yep.
And so many of us were like deep into the Switch and had to just stop for like a week to play Samus Returns in the 3DS. But they released the Samus limited edition, and I picked that up. It is one of the hottest looking systems I have ever seen. It's got
bad. It's not bad.
It's, first of all, I'm big into two-tone. Like, I love a system with two colors. And the Samus one has the kind of the red orange-ish. I'm not even sure what color. That red orange top cover, and then it has like the gold bottom cover. It is super hot. If I had to knock it, it would be that when you flip it up to play, Samus is upside down. And people kind of go back and forth about, when you have it down and you have it closed in front of you, Samus is right side up. But some of those 3DSs, they actually put the decal upside down so that when you are playing it, people see the logo right side up. But my gosh, it is the hottest one. The 3DS XL is my favorite of the 3DS hardware. It has the biggest screen, and it has that weightiness to it that the 2DS XLs don't have.
It does.
But like to get that system and then be playing Metroid on it and then getting a Metroid themed wallpaper on it. My God, it is hot hardware. It sold out really fast. I've sold at least one, maybe two 3DS systems in order to get Switches. I would never sell the Samus limited edition. It's my favorite one.
Nice.
What about you?
Awesome. Well, since we're on that topic, you're right. You kind of hit something on the head there where I was never, like I said, I was a big Game Boy handheld guy. And then after that, I kind of fell off a little bit with the handhelds. I think teenage years, I think I just kind of got attached to the consoles. But once the XLs came out and they started coming out a little bit more, you're right. There was some software that I had to get my hands on, right? Specifically Mario Golf and things like that. So there was a time I said, I need an XL. And at the time being, I looked around. There were some cool ones. But for whatever reason, the Yoshi one jumped out at me. And I'm not even a huge Yoshi guy, but I don't hate the guy. And it's kind of that two-tone one. And I don't know why, but when I play handheld, I actually prefer the white to the black.
Oh, really?
Which is weird because I always have, like, I'm an iPhone guy and I always hated the white cell phones. My wife used to always have them, the older versions, and I always hated them. I always loved the black tone on my phone. But when I always had my original DS and all the way up to my 3D XL, I always loved the white. And so when I saw the Yoshi one with the green cover with Yoshi and the egg, and then on the back, it was just so subtle, but awesome, I thought, with the white. And you had like the four little Yoshi eggs. I was sold. I was into it. I liked it. So I went after that one and I got that one.
Do you think the white, do you get any concern about the white getting like dirty? I mean, like it's going to pick up dirt from your hands more.
See, that stuff doesn't bother me much like it bothers you. I mean, I showed you pictures of my Switch the other day, and if you saw that, I thought you were going to have a heart attack.
I did.
I think you maybe did have a little bit of one. I mean, my Switch is scratched the shit out of it, and I feel like I take care of it, John. My Joy-Cons, I haven't probably taken my Joy-Cons off my Switch in 9 months. I no lie. And they probably got crusted on there. But even like I looked at the back of them and I used the neon yellow ones, and it's like around the edges are black. Not from dirt, but I think wear and tear. Like it took off the paint of the yellow Joy-Con. So that stuff doesn't bother me as much. I don't know why, because I'm definitely a neat freak. Like I want my phone nice, all that stuff. But that stuff, I don't know. So anyways, back to my special edition one, the Yoshi one. It's nothing crazy, but I think it has a little bit of sentimental value. But I also think it's a sleek, well-designed. Even the Yoshi on the front, they kind of off-centered it a little bit to make it pop. Big fan.
Yeah, I really like the eggs in the back.
Yeah.
I can't stand white. I can't stand white. I remember they did that white DS Lite, and it was just the most decrepit thing I've ever seen in my life.
Did you know I had that one too, John? And I loved it.
And I am
all white, right? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yep, and I put some Mario stickers on there. It was phenomenal.
Oh my God, you put stickers? Oh God, that's my other. Look, we can do a whole episode. Maybe we should on I agree with you completely. I am completely OCD, especially when it comes to portables. I mean, consoles, it's always easy. You don't touch them.
But here's my problem. I don't sell stuff. I still have that original DS Lite with my stickers on it. I have my Yoshi XL. I have my original N6. I have my original NES. I have my original Super NES. I have my original Sega. I don't sell them. So for me, it's like I want to just customize them to the way I want to customize them, and it's what it's going to be.
Yeah. We'll have to have a discussion about that someday because I do like. If I get a scratch on hardware, one time I was in my car, and I shouldn't talk about this, but I was in my car and my 3DS slid off the console and fell between my seat, and it got a little scratch on the top cover. This was like the first, like I think it was like the 3DS. I think it was the first 3DS XL. It was the blue. It was on eBay the next day, and I bought a new one. I just couldn't do it. I had to buy a new one. I couldn't. The scratch was. And you find someone on eBay who doesn't mind the scratch, and you don't know how these people exist, but they do.
John,
right along your Yoshi one, and this is a funny because when I describe this one to people, they say, "Oh, the Yoshi one with Yoshi on it," and I go, "No, like 3 or 4 years ago, I think this was like an Amazon exclusive. They put out what I call the Hyper Green 3DS. My heart palpitated when I saw this one, and I remember I got it because I bought it. It showed up in the mail. It was like early November, and I handed it to my wife and said, "Here, give this to me for Christmas," because I wanted it just to sit. And it is a hype. And around this time, I was looking to buy a car, and I was going to buy a Hyper Green Jeep Wrangler. And Hyper Green is it's like a neon green. They call it Hyper Green. And I was in a big Hyper Green phase. I guess I still am. But this one is the opposite of yours. There's no Yoshi on it. But when you bought it, it came with Super Mario World, I think. It came with like, the digital version of Super Mario World. So they were promoting Yoshi, and the green is for Yoshi, but there's no Yoshi on it. It's just Hyper Green. That's it, and the inside is black, and it is beautiful, black and green. It is gorgeous. And when I describe it to people, they think of the Yoshi one. In fact, if you go on eBay and you try to search, you often see the Yoshi one. This is another one I would never sell. It doesn't have like the crazy designs, but the color is just beautiful.
John, I got to ask you, how many handheld Nintendo devices do you own?
I have a lot of 3DSs. At one point, I had 14 3DSs.
John, come on.
I know. I get really like when I use a 3DS for a while and it starts to get that little bit of wear, it's like time to move on to something brand new. But I used to have the SNES one and I sold it and I used that money to buy my first Switch Lite.
I was looking at the NES and the Super NES one, and I think the idea and concept are cool, but I don't think they executed it well.
Exactly.
So my problem with the NES one is the 3DS XL has the nicely rounded corners, right? If you look at it, it's like they took a screenshot of an NES controller and just flopped it on. So you have those 90-degree corners that go into the middle of like a 90-degree radius, and it just looks awful.
It is so ugly. And when that thing came out, people in my group were all excited for it because it was NES.
But you want it to be good. That's the thing. You're like, oh yeah, and then you just know it's not.
Lazy. Look at the NES GBA, and that's my next one. The NES GBA, which is I think my favorite of all time.
So I'll be honest.
They didn't just take a pic.
No, they didn't. That was on my list, but once I saw it on yours, I said, you know what? I'll let you talk about it.
But like they don't try to make it look like you said, a picture of a controller. They just use the design aesthetic. So the GBA SP has like the gray look, but it has red buttons. It has the black D-pad, and then it just has the gray striping through the middle. And on the top, it looks like the top of an NES, but it's just gorgeous. And that NES 3DS is so decrepit. First of all, I never bought it. It is disgusting. I don't know who designed that. They should fire whoever designed that because that could have been amazing.
Is the inside anything? Or is it just gray?
I don't remember the inside being anything exciting. I did own the SNES 3DS, and the outside was also equally ugly. It looked like a picture of an SNES, but the inside had the classic SNES gray with the colored buttons.
I'm looking at it now. So it's gray and the buttons are red with black. Not terrible. Right. It's not terrible on the inside, but the outside is awful.
Yeah. It's the insides look good. And the inside looks good on the NES 3DS, but the outside looks like a joke. But yeah, not for the GBA. NES GBA is hot.
It is.
And that's why I put the brighter screen in it. I mean, I wanted a perfect GBA, and there you go. What else? What else you got?
Well, we talked a little bit about. I said the GameCube was a huge part of my life, and I mean, everyone thinks GameCube, and you got that slick indigo purple color, right? And people, and here's the thing: people are like, "Oh, yeah, it's boring." Everybody had that one, but it's not. It was the perfect color choice, and I think that if you had like this as a special edition color, and the standard was black only. People would have been obsessed with the purple.
Absolutely.
But since the purple was the norm, I think people overlooked it a little bit. Does that make sense?
I totally agree with you. I think of any console ever made, the boldest original design has to be that indigo GameCube. Because you're right. If they would have put out, because there's like two other colors. I know there's a black and a silver.
Yep.
Which are just standard, boring colors. Either one of those could have just been the original. But yeah,
and the purple could have been like a hard to find special edition, but it wasn't.
It could have been like a Waluigi GameCube. Yeah. People would have lost their shit over it.
I agree, but instead they just made it the normal one, which people lose respect for. But I love the sleekness of it with some of the little bit of blackness. You have the gray interfacing for the power button as well as the little controller front, and then you have the amazing orange glow button that lights up when the power's on.
Yeah.
But even the design, I mean, if you think about it, GameCube, and it's a fucking cube. But yeah. I don't care. I mean, it has a built-in handle. I mean, it's incredible. I love the console. It's so easy. The adapters for the controllers are super easy. You have the memory card slots right there. I think it's just a well-made system. I do. It's clunky. I mean, the small discs are kind of an odd choice, but who cares?
Well, there's so much history to that one, and I'll agree with you. Of all of the Nintendo consoles, I think the GameCube is the best. And remember, it came out at a time when other systems were trying to expand, that they weren't just about games; they were something else. Mm-hmm. There was like broadband capability and all that, But the GameCube, like I said, yeah, it's a GameCube. It's what it does. It does gaming. But remember, the GameCube was the first Nintendo system that took discs because they were late. Right. The N64 was going up against the PlayStation, and it didn't support those discs. And when Nintendo switched to them, it was like, oh, they're going to use discs. And then it turned out they were these adorable, cute little small discs. And I loved them. I loved them.
I loved it too.
Open up that little slot, like, it's a great little system. I love the handle. It's totally useless, but I love the handle, and I love because at that time not every console had 4 ports, and obviously that's not even a thing now because they're wireless. But the N64 had 4 ports, but the PlayStation never had 4 ports. I think the Xbox did. The Dreamcast did. But the GameCube is just this perfect little system. And then the Game Boy adapter, the GBA adapter, you put on the bottom and it screws in so you could just attach it to your system and keep it there forever. Definitely love that hardware. And it's the only system where the alternate colors were actually worse.
Agreed. Right? Yeah, I agree with that statement.
I think they just did black and silver. I can't think of any other models. I've definitely seen models that had stickers on them.
I think there was a modification one. So I think those were only the only 3 official ones, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Is there a red one that came out special? I don't know. Sometimes you get lost. It's such an old system. If you try Googling it or eBaying it, you'll end up seeing other colors that people modified.
I definitely remember buying a Smash Brothers model of the GameCube, and I was like, wow, this is a Smash Brothers model. And it turned out it was just stickers on it, and I was a little disappointed. I love the GameCube. That's the only system. My wife actually bought me a GameCube, and I kept it. And I treat my systems like gold, and that's the only original system that I have that's broken. It just the laser died on it. It's in perfect shape. It just did the laser. It didn't last. That's a great console. I'll go back to another 3DS model. This got mentioned on NVC. I actually had it for a short while. The Monster Hunter Ultimates 3DS. This is the only 3DS model I've ever seen that looks like, what would you describe it as? It's like a brushed metal.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And in person, it looks even better than any picture. It has a shine to it.
Yep.
I got it on a Craigslist deal. I got it used, but it was in mint condition. And I loved it. The only problem was I didn't give a shit about Monster Hunter. So at some point I sold it and got a different 3DS, and I kind of regret it. But they print out Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate on there, and I never had any attachment to Monster Hunter. But the brushed metal look, I really wish they'd make another one like this. When I play the Switch nowadays, one of the flaws to the Switch is the plastic on the back really picks up the oils off your hands. So if you look at the back of your Switch right now, you're going to see some shiny areas.
Yep.
I hate that. It just gets rid of it. I actually thought the Switch Lite didn't do that, but I think I'm noticing that it does. I gotta clean it and see. But having a brushed metal looking type like that would really kind of make that not an issue. I feel bad that I sold my Monster Hunter Ultimate 3DS, but
don't feel bad. You have plenty.
It's gorgeous. What do you think about the N64?
So yeah, funny because the N64 did something that I thought was awesome. They came out, and it's such like a 90s thing to do, right? With all of these see-through color variants of the different systems. And did you ever own one of these or no?
No, I actually have never owned a colored N64.
No, and either did I. But there's some amazing ones. I'm going to send you a picture right now, so you can look at them with me. But there's some really cool ones, and I'm going to use the colors that they used. But my favorite one was the fire one, which was actually an orange, and there was just these 3 see-through type plastics, which was amazing. You'd see the insides of a console, and again, for the 90s, for me being a teenager, it was like, this stuff that's so cool. They also had I think smoke that they called, which was like a darkish gray one. They had ice, which was blue, jungle green, watermelon, which was kind of like a reddish, purplish, pinkish, and then they had grape, which is purple, and then they had the solid black and the solid gold as well. But the orange one, the fire one, was something I always wanted, and I never got it, but I settled with a fire controller, and I also had the green jungle controller, so I was okay with it. I lived with the controllers, and this was the good old grandma bought me the N64, and I wasn't going to tell her I wasn't happy with the solid black, so I got some controllers later on to help satisfy my itch, but. Just again, a cool console. And funny story, John, I was going to talk about it earlier, and I said no, but I'm going to go back to it. I had the opportunity to buy this orange console this week, and I passed it up.
Oh, this week?
This week. So there was I've gotten into this fad. You're stuck at home. I've been getting rid of shit left and right, old kid stuff. I've been selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace. It's just so easy.
You mentioned that.
And I don't know how, but while I was on there, I came across a guy that lives a town over from me, who I think for a living buys and sells old video game stuff. So he posted a picture of a couple different colored consoles of the N64s, but he had the orange fire one, and he also had the NES Power Glove in the box. So I said, how much for the Power Glove and the N64 console? And it comes with one orange controller and all the adapters. Do you want to guess what you think he said? Now remember, this is just a guy that making a living, so this isn't just grandma.
So he knows the price of things.
He knows the stuff,
and it's in the box. How good in shape was the box?
Because
The thing
Pretty
about the
good.
Power Glove box is it had an older style box. It was like a thin cardboard. It's very hard to find a box in really good shape. They're usually warped just from moisture and whatever. It's that nasty cardboard. I'm gonna guess 150.
For both the console and the Power Glove.
Okay, we're talking about the N64 console and the box Power Glove.
I made it. I asked them for both.
Was the orange N64 in the box or no box?
No box for the N64, but it came with one controller.
Okay, I would say altogether 200.
So he came back at 260.
Okay,
it's not bad, but it's like spur of the moment type thing. Do I really need it? Or is it just?
And you don't need a Power Glove.
No, that's something you just you put in your collection.
Right. Yeah.
You display it, but it's.
Oh, and I have it. Yeah.
You do have it.
I will. So as part of my gamer group, we're collectors, and I will tell you, the thing that people collect the most is usually what they grew up with and their nostalgia. The thing about the N64 is there are people obsessed with N64, obsessed with it, and I've never bought anything but a gray one. I do have in my collection there was a Toys R Us limited edition one. And it came with a extreme green controller. It was the gray N64, but it had this limited edition color, and I still have it in my collection. I will tell everybody how much I don't like the N64. I liked it when I was younger. I didn't play it that much. It was kind of an era I didn't play games as much. And I love Mario 64, but the games didn't age well. Collecting for it is boring. There's nothing really exciting. There's no great games that I would want to play today. All the Castlevanias were terrible. It's just there's no RPGs. It's
they had the Mario parties. You can't tell me they weren't the best Mario parties.
I did have fun with the Mario parties, but I wouldn't play them today. But I know people that go after all these colors, these grapes and watermelons and whatever. And I can tell you a few things about it. For one, the boxes for these colors, like of all the colors, the jungle green came with Donkey Kong 64. Yeah. And it's like I've seen that box a lot. So I've seen the jungle green one a lot. The thing about collecting these N64s is they have that cartridge, the memory expansion slot. Yep. On those, a lot of those, the covers are missing. So you'll find, especially on a lot of these colored consoles, where that little lid is missing, and that's just like fatal for a collector. Right? I mean, you don't want that shit. No. And I have never in my life, and I've been collecting for years, seen a box for one of these colored consoles, except for the jungle green. Okay. I've never seen the grape box, the watermelon box. The boxes were like mostly white, and then they kind of showcase the color on it. Those boxes, for some reason, nobody kept them. They are so hard to find. I know a lot of people that try to collect all the colors and they have most of them or whatever. There's a couple of hard ones. I think the fire is kind of harder to find, and but nobody has the boxes. You don't see it at all. Nobody has the colored boxes.
Interesting.
It's an interesting system to collect for because there are hardly any really expensive games. There's a couple. I think there's a skateboard kids game that's expensive, and I think the most expensive game is the
Snowboarding Kids.
I think it's
Snowboarding Kids 2.
It's something like that. Yes.
Fabulous game. I used to own it, and I don't anymore.
I think it came out late in the cycle. It's rare.
It's such a good game.
There is a Clay Fighters game, Director's Cut, which is very rare. So it's like it goes for hundreds of dollars. But other than like 3 or 4 games, it's an easy system to collect for. There's only like 300 and something games on it too. Yeah. But the collecting the colors for the N64 is more exciting. The controllers, people go crazy over that stuff. There's some great colors. I really like the ice. I would love to see. I've been dying for a translucent Joy-Con. That'd be awesome. Atomic Purple or something like that from the Game Boy games. I would love to see.
Bring it back. I hear
translucent. No, that's a good pick with the N64. What about the Switch? The Switch doesn't have many exciting like the system really, it always just comes in black. Some of them have like a custom backplate, but the Animal Crossing Switch, I think, is so unique and so hard to find. I would put the Animal Crossing Switch as one of the nicest pieces of hardware that Nintendo has ever put out.
Yeah, it is nice. I agree.
Positively gorgeous.
Yeah, like I said, for me, I don't know. I don't want to say I lost my itch to collect and stuff, but I think I'm just a realist now, and it's just like just give me a functional console. I don't know. I still love my retro stuff, and I still have it, and I'll never sell it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
But I think my priorities. I don't know, John.
I think when you're using a portable, you're so up close with it. Seeing scratches and stuff really bugs me. I know people who don't care at all. And I know it's not normal or whatever, but I just love having my portables mint. Well, like with consoles, it's easy. If your controller gets all ganky, you can just buy a new controller. Maybe
True.
it's $60. Their controllers are definitely more expensive than they used to be. But I mean, compared to a console, it's nothing. The Switch Lites are like dangerous for me because
that's true.
They're $200. It's like right on the border of very expensive, and I can squeeze this in. $300 was always like, this is a big purchase. I'm making a big purchase here. But $200 is like, ooh, maybe I can get that Coral,
Oh, gosh.
I do want to say the gray Switch Lite is my favorite model of Switch Lite, and I know it's boring gray, and I remember when they came out thinking, who the heck is going to buy the boring gray one? Now that I have it, because I had to give my son the blue one, I love it. The color just pops off the gray. The blue one really looks pretty, but when you're playing a game, you get the color from the Switch Lite and the color from the screen, and they just kind of mix. But when you play off the gray one, it's like the color just kind of pops. And the buttons are like this light gray on top of it. I really love the gray Switch Lite. It's my favorite Switch. Sometimes
nice.
Simplicity sometimes wins the day.
It does. So yeah, I mean, I think that's some solid selections. And again, I'd like to see what other people have to say. Any other last ones before we move on?
Yeah, that Pokemon. The thing about the Game Boy is the original Game Boy. Most people love that design, the thick gray one.
Yep.
Most of the other ones, especially the slimmer Game Boys, they don't look as good. Some of the colored original Game Boys, like the red, there's a red and a green. I forgot what they call that series. They look really nice because you're just used to seeing gray. But the Pokemon one, there's a Pokemon Game Boy Color. It has multicolor buttons on it, and it has a little Pikachu or whatever on the side. That's a great one. If I ever found one in like mint condition, I'd probably grab it. They're usually like heavily worn because some kid played it for like 300 hours. Then again, those Game Boys, they don't have the screen, the backlit screen, so they're not really fun to play with today.
Yep.
But that one definitely jumps to my mind. The Wii U never had a good console, but that Zelda, that Wind Waker edition, the gamepad, that was like the only one that they really put out. That's like a standard. If you have a Wii U, you just got to try to get that Wind Waker edition. The Wii U definitely had the most boring consoles, which was a crime. Nintendo has such great characters in color.
I know that was a disappointment. Yeah, they just have the black and white, and that was it.
The black and the white, they pulled the white off the shelves like not even 6 months in. I mean, it just wasn't. You couldn't find it anymore.
What about the Wii? They had that blue one? Did they have anything really or no?
Blue was pretty. They also had a red one.
Oh, that's right. That was limited too. That wasn't bad.
The red one I think might be the nicest one, and then they had a red and black one that didn't have internet. They took the internet
that's right, and the $50 cheaper or something weird like that.
Yeah, it like definitely wasn't worth it if you were a gamer, like you wanted the internet, but they tried to make it a little cheaper for family.
Well, not that the Wii had a lot of options.
No, but you want to go to the eShop and you want to, get game updates and stuff like that. So it was a little weird, but they put that very late into the cycle. I don't know how they got away with it, but the red one was really nice. Otherwise, they had the white and the black. I really like the black one. The white one came out when Apple was like going for white design, and Nintendo kind of copied it. But I never really loved the white. And those controllers get decrepit. Like I said, they just pick up all the dirt on your hand. They're just gross. So, yeah. No, there's some great systems Nintendo's put out. I'm really glad that they're trying to use their color, like the neon, when they did the Switch with the neons right off the bat. It was great. They have such personality. I'm the peek at the Pokemon Switch is amazing. The Animal Crossing one, of course. I think we're going to see some really cool ones in the future too. So,
Nice.
yeah. That was that was fun to talk about because there's some really awesome consoles there. I think they got their due.
Agreed. All right, so that wraps up the main topic portion. Any listener questions or anything that you want to go through?
We do have one.
Okay.
We got a question from Sean Abbott. And he asked us, what game has given you guys the biggest rage quit moments? And what game's given you some of the biggest, holy fuck, this is amazing moments? He specifically mentions, and he totally stole it from me. He likes those first steps out of the cave in Breath of the Wild. For me, that was amazing. And I can't agree enough, Sean. That would have been the first moment that I said that's still one of the most chilling moments I've ever seen in a game. Right at the beginning too, when you just
it's funny because Pine tries to do that same thing, except I think I sent you a screenshot and it's like half of a tree, a third of a tree, and fog.
Lovely. Yeah.
So that was my first step of what the fuck am I getting into?
Well, let's start off with like rage quits. What do you got for your rage quit moment?
I'm not an angry guy. I like to consider myself pretty calm. I haven't had many rage quits that I can remember. Besides the only thing, and I think we've talked about this in the past, so I really don't want to dig too deep, is the Dark Souls demo that came out. I was kind of really excited for that game, and then they plop you into this high level area that you don't know what the hell you're doing, and I played it for like an hour, and I don't think I ever survived more than like 30 seconds.
That was a shitty demo. That demo did not do the game justice. I don't know what they were thinking with that one.
I can't think of any rage quits like this game's too hard or I don't like it. I mean, I think we can all relate back to games where the game froze or reset or something like that in some of the older systems. Or I guess more of the rage quits would be, you're playing Mario Party in 64 with your buddies and one yanked of the controller. People just get mad, and then when you yank the controller, it
pull the
pauses,
controller,
it pauses, it shutters and it pauses the game. So you could be like 30 turns into a 50-turn Mario Party game, and then the guy loses a mini game that's pissed, and that causes the rage. But no, I don't really have any major rage moments. How about you?
Oh, I do. Like I said, I'm really big into finishing a game, no matter how hard it is. I'm playing Blasphemous right now, and that game is hard as hell. But I try not to rage. But a couple times, most recently, guess what? Dark Souls. I played through and beat Dark Souls on the PS3 years ago, and so I started playing the remastered version. And I was playing through it. It's a hard game, but I was playing through it. I was really excited to play through it. And then I was just getting to this point where I didn't know where to go. The thing about Dark Souls is there's different branches, different ways you can go. And sometimes it's not clear, like you're going to like, this place is way too hard for you and whatever. And I couldn't figure out where to go. And I kept dying and I couldn't find the next bonfire. And then what happens is you die and you go all the way back to the last bonfire. And I was just like, I died at this one point. It was like the 7th different place I went trying to find where I can go. I died. I was like, fuck this. I hit the home button, closed it. And then as I will do, when I rage quit, I go all the way with it. I immediately go to my data management. I delete my save file. I make sure it's deleted on the cloud.
Bold.
Yeah, because basically I'm saying I'm angry right now, but I do not want to like play this game later. I'm gonna calm down and then I'm gonna play it. I'm like, no, I'm deleting it right now.
That's rage. That's rage.
So that happened with Dark Souls, but the game that comes to me the most as just being the most absolutely frustrating thing is Hollow Knight. And I'll never understand why people hold Hollow Knight to this esteem of greatness. Look, it's got great graphics. It's a good game. It's executed very well, but there's game design elements that are just so fucking broken. Save points are broken. The difficulty of the game is insane. You're playing on hard mode when you play Hollow Knight. There's no easy mode. There's no normal mode. And I was about 15 hours into it, and I was so freaking frustrated with everything in there. Your character, you never feel strong. It's so hard to find save points. It's so hard to navigate around the world. If you need to go across the world to go to some location, it takes you like way too long. And I had enough, turned it off, deleted my save file. I was done. I ended up coming back to it like 6 months later, and I actually did complete it. And I ended up with a better impression of the game. That game does have some serious problems though. But that was the last game that I played like 15 hours through, and then it was all over. Yeah. But you and I we're more positive people. We're not gonna rage.
Sometimes.
I mean, have you ever thrown a controller or been one of those people that like broke a controller or broke a portable?
I'm not really that type of person. My brother, on the other hand, was, and but yeah, no, I'm not. I don't get angry easily, John. So for me, no, I've never really had to do that. I mean, how about you?
No, I've always been pretty good with my stuff. I had my nephew definitely had some throw the controller rage. I will let you know, like if people get mad with their controller and throw it on the ground or something, I will like stop them and say, look, we're not playing. Like, you do not throw the controller. And my kids don't
it's not
do it.
even it's not even about, I mean, sure, it's a little bit about it, but it's not even about like, don't break my stuff. It's more like, listen, this is a game. Like, if you're not having fun, like, I don't want to play. I don't want to play with you. Don't get me wrong. You don't want you to break a $60 controller, but it's just like,
oh, absolutely.
Like, what are we doing? Like, yeah, we're playing a game here. Who cares? This is just supposed to be fun.
Well, and it's like, stop. Really stop blaming your controller. Like, just,
don't take it out.
You
of the
got
damn
killed,
controller.
right? Like, stop it. Like, leave it alone. Like, just like, calm yourself down and go again. It's like, stop throwing the controller. That's not going to make it any better. That's What about the moments? What about the amazing moments? Anything come to mind?
The only thing that really comes to my mind is Wind Waker. I mean, when you get into that cell shaded type graphics and you are in this ocean, and I mean GameCube, so you had a lot of the N64 stuff, which had the open world. But once you start putting like a little bit of the open world into this, and when you learn that you're on this boat, you go anywhere you want. And then you learn that you can literally just drop your hook and look for treasure anywhere. It's like, whoa, you're like, timeout. There's this huge world, and I can just drop this and find stuff in the middle of the ocean anywhere I go. And then just going from the island to the island. I mean, for me, that was a wow moment of the exploration portion of it, and just, love at first sight, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah, the graphics in that game were incredible.
And then, of course, I have to say more recently, if I want to fast forward through time, I mean, now we're into the modern age of video gaming where I can watch two people have sets and make the decisions on what I want to do with that through The Witcher. So thank you for that, good world.
Triss is the amazing gaming moment. I watched a video of the top 10 moments in video games, I think in the last 10 years or whatever, and I was really interested to see. I was like predicting the Breath of the Wild moment when you come out of the cave. Be, like maybe number one. It wasn't even on the top 10 list. Like not even the top 10.
Well, let me ask you this. How many Nintendo games were, John?
There were 0 Nintendo games.
That's
made that
my
list.
point. Going after the graphics. It's not all about graphics. And I think that's where a lot of people, at least for me,
Yeah.
I know you talked about The Witcher playing on different consoles. That shit doesn't bother me. Like I said, I just, it doesn't affect me. So,
yeah,
but a lot of people get wrapped up in that amazing graphics and this and that. But it doesn't. That doesn't mean it has to be a wow moment. Wow, it could be anything.
You can tell this list was going for like big cinematic moments, But I'll tell you, one of the best moments in gaming history I remember is when you beat Metroid, and back then we didn't know, and she takes off the helmet, and it's like, oh, it's a girl. Like, that was a big moment because we really didn't know it. Magazines weren't giving it away, and it was something you just discovered, and that was a great moment, and that's certainly not cinematic.
That's a great one. Well, that is.
I was a little mad Breath of the Wild wasn't in the list. You know what moment was in that list, and it was the only moment that I had experienced myself?
What?
And that tells you a little something about this list and how shoddy it was. I think one of the top 5 moments was the opening scene of The Witcher when he's in the bathtub and that crab-looking thing goes in.
No.
Yes, that was a top 10. They were like, it set the tone for the game and blah, blah, blah.
That's weird.
And it was like, okay, that was a funny moment, but yeah, I didn't like the list. I have a couple. One of them I'll never forget. It was Tomb Raider. The 2013, the reboot, the first game of the reboots. And if you have not played the Tomb Raider series, it's one of the most incredible series of all time. It's so good. The game is so good. It never gets dull. But I started playing the first game. I love my female lead characters. And I don't play many cinematic games. I played through Uncharted and all that. But I played Tomb Raider, and in the beginning of that game, probably say like the first 30 minutes or so, and the game is about Lara becoming who she is. So what makes that game so great is she's just kind of like a nerd, and there's a plane crash, and she crashes on this island, and she has to survive. And she's not like a killer, but she learns to use these tools to defend herself, and then she becomes a stronger character as she goes. And very early on in that game is a scene where you're caught up in like a flood and you're trying to get out from this cave and there's rushing water and all that. And the graphics are amazing and you feel the rush and the animation and the interaction with her character, with the environment. It was like surreal to me. I was like, wow, like it was amazing. And I'd love for my wife to play this sometime, just this first part. But that is still an incredible experience to me, the first Tomb Raider right at the beginning. And then I think most recently Fire Emblem Three Houses. That's a game where sometimes you're playing through that game and you're like, am I bored? And I love the Fire Emblem series. It might be my favorite series currently.
Okay.
But you're playing through and you're like, am I bored? Like, you know, the new Fire Emblem game has a lot of walking around this big castle and talking to people and interactions and whatever. But man, there are some plot twists and moments during battles that are just like story-wise are just incredible. And like you played with 3 different schools. I had most recently played, my first run was with the Black Eagles, and then my second run was the Blue Lions. And just Dimitri's character development and the voice acting and the story surrounding him and the and I won't give it away, but the core storyline that's going on. Oh my God. Like I hit a moment when I was playing it. I think I was playing it in January, February, the second time through. And I was like, you know what? This was the game of the year last year. Like, I didn't think it was the game of the year at the end of the year, but I was like, this is the best game of the year last year. It's so good. And there's really like 4 storylines you play through. And then they added the DLC, which I didn't think was amazing. But man, playing through with the Blue Lions was a great time, and I can't wait really to play it again. But Fire Emblem Three Houses definitely has those moments where you're just blown away by that game. That was such a good game.
Huh. Wow. I didn't see that coming.
Didn't see it coming. You definitely need to play some Fire Emblem Three Houses though. May not be your thing, but
yeah, it doesn't seem to be.
It's incredible. But yeah, that's a good one. That was a great question by Sean Abbott. Thank you for that. It was good not to get a question about genitalia this week.
You know, I agree. It was nice just to talk video games, a little bit of retro, a little bit of past, present, you name it.
Yeah.
Well, what else, John? Anything else before we sign off? I mean, what do we got coming up the next couple of weeks?
It's something interesting coming up tomorrow. Earlier today, I got a tweet from some insider saying that tomorrow was going to be an incredible day for gaming news. Definitely hinting at something incredible is coming. And then earlier this evening, IGN put out that there's a big announcement coming up. It's 9 o'clock Mountain Time, so I'd say like 11 a.m. Eastern Time.
Okay.
I'm very curious. The way the tweet and the IGN, I think something big is coming. Well, they're saying something big is coming. So keep an eye out for that. I know most people won't listen to this podcast and probably know the information by now, but right now we don't know what it is. If it's a Nintendo announcement, I think it would be a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer.
Ooh.
Just that's the gravity of what I think is about to hit tomorrow. This is big. I don't think it's going to be Nintendo news. So just based on what I'm hearing and like the gravity of this, it might be a Half-Life 3. I hate to say it, it's kind of a joke now, but like, they did put out that VR game. Like, I think they might be finally doing a Half-Life 3. So we'll see. It might be something just minor. I don't know. It just sounds like something big is happening. So that's coming up tomorrow. In terms of game releases, Super Mega Baseball 3, I know it's not the biggest franchise in the world, but it's the best baseball game in the world. And so Super Mega Baseball 3 comes out May 13th, and it's coming to Switch, which is great.
Now, is that based off of MLB, or is that just
Not at all.
Okay, cool.
It does not have the real players. Super Mega Baseball was on the other consoles. I would tweet them every other week to please port it to Nintendo. The Wii U never had a baseball game. Never had one. And I was like, you got to port your game to the Wii U. It would be the only baseball game. They finally ported Super Mega Baseball 2 to the Switch. And I played it a lot, and it's a great baseball game. Good. So Super Mega Baseball 3, I'm not going to buy it because I need to play through all of Super Mega Baseball 2 still. But that comes out May 13th, and then finally the Wonderful 101 comes out May 19th. That was a really fast Kickstarter because I think that was announced in like February.
Yeah.
Only the digital version, so they delayed the physical version until late June. So I think the COVID-19 got to it. So
is this a game I'd like, John?
I have never played it. It's done by Platinum, which are the Bayonetta people. Platinum makes great games. Anything they make, you should play. They did Nier Automata. They did Mad World. They've done a lot of games that you've heard of. Yeah. This game, from what I hear, is just great. It didn't sell well. It was on the Wii U. They brought it to the Switch as soon as I have it on the Wii U. I always wanted to play it. I've never gotten to it, but now that it's on the Switch, I'm in. They delayed it, which is actually not bad because it gives me time to play it. I would have had 10 days to play it before Xenoblade, so I don't mind that it got delayed. But if you want the digital version, you can buy it May 19th. Yep. If you want the physical, I think it's like June 30th the physical comes out. Nice. But we got a couple big games coming out over the next 2 weeks. So good. Little games.
Absolutely. And then, as always, make sure you're following our monthly mayhem. We'll be wrapping that up over the next week or so. And make sure you vote on either Twitter or over in our Discord channel through the Nintendo Dads. And stay tuned for the end of the month type announcement for our next month, where we want even more people to join in. We're growing. We're constantly growing. More people are joining in the fun. So why not join in for a chance to play video games and win money? I mean, it seems like a no-brainer to me. So that's our big monthly mayhem tournaments. All right, so we want to thank the Nintendo Dads for letting us be part of the Nintendo Dads family of podcasts. You can find us by subscribing to Dads After Dark Show podcast on all of your favorite podcast apps or feeds. If you're a Nintendo Dad patron, come hang out in our Dads After Dark channel and let us know what you want us to talk about next. We're always asking questions on there for your feedback, just like the consoles we talked about earlier tonight. And you can follow us over at Twitter, or on Twitter rather, at the N, that's just the letter N, Dads After Dark. Or you could always send us a fun little email to dadsafterdark@nintendodads.org. So we want to say thank you for listening to this amazing episode. It was a lot of fun talking all this retro stuff. And we'll catch you next time on the Dads After Dark.